Good morning, Perform24 family. I hope you guys are ready for this because this is about to be one heck of an episode. First, I've got the meanest lift. I've got the most intense lift that I've had in the entire Squatober yet. Low volume, high intensity, working up to a single rep at 90% today. Did not expect that, but I'm ready for it. Following the lift, I'm going to be bringing you part 2 of Programming 101. Yesterday we talked about how to sequence the entire session, and today we're going to talk about how to manipulate that sequencing. A couple big things. We got a nasty lift and we have some meaty content to follow it. I've got a little bit more time than I did yesterday, so I'm going to use that to warm up. Pretty sure that's like an Abraham Lincoln quote or something like that. If you have an hour to chop down a tree, spend 56 minutes sharpening your axe. That's about what I'm gonna do. I really need to warm up. I'm very tight all over, super tight all over the place. So I'm gonna get a nice warm up, and then I'm gonna nail these reps under the bar. Let's get after it. It's a good day today. I'm ready for it. Bang, okay, that lift is over. All my training sessions are over. First of all, smash that lift. It feels so good. That 90% was super buttery smooth. Really pumped about that progress. Now it's time to talk a little bit of programming. I'm super pumped about this video in particular because it's kind of pulling themes from different videos that we've made over the last couple of days and bringing it into a very nice, neat, concise, practical, useful video. Let's get into Programming 101 Part 2. This is Programming 101. This is not Programming 301, okay? So this is the basic fundamentals of programming. Also, obviously we are in Squatober. So we're gonna be using the Barbell Back Squat as the primary example. So yesterday in Programming 101 Part 1, I talked about how I like to program in circuits, right? I like to pair exercises together to get a desired outcome. Today, I'm gonna give you kind of blanket overall ideas on how to sequence exercises together to get specific outcomes. We're gonna talk about how to use a barbell back squat to gain size in your legs, to gain power, explosiveness in your legs, to gain function, like overall function, mobility, injury resistance, things like that. So function is the term that I'm gonna use for that. How to use the barbell back squat for fat loss, and then obviously, how to use the barbell back squat for true strength. 5 different outcomes, all using the barbell back squat. Now, you can take these exact concepts and use them for any muscle group, okay? But this is Squatober. We're talking about the back squat. There's a whole bunch of different ways to chop up exercise programming, but these are the ways that I personally use for myself and I personally use for clients. When I'm training for size, okay, the term we use for that is hypertrophy, muscle growth. I like to superset exercises that use antagonist muscle groups. Antagonist muscle groups are opposites, okay? So if you think of your quads as being the primary mover during a barbell back squat, when I'm trying to work size, just size, when I'm trying to optimize my training for size and muscle mass, I will superset a quad exercise with a hamstring exercise. And again, apply this to whatever muscle group you want. But those are kind of the boundaries. Again, fundamentals of performance training. That's all we're gonna be talking about here. We're not gonna get super deep on this, but we're gonna nail the fundamentals here. When I want size, I'm gonna superset antagonist muscle groups. Quads, hamstrings, or quads and glutes. So barbell back squat supersetted with an RDL, nice. Barbell back squat supersetted with a barbell hip thrust, nice. Those are the kinds of exercises that I think about pairing together when I want to optimize for size. Now, if I'm thinking about optimizing for power, I'm going to superset my barbell back squat with some type of explosive movement. Sticking with the basics here, let's use a box jump. I will superset barbell back squat with a box jump. We're going from a strength movement directly to an explosive movement using the same movement pattern. That's the key here. I don't want to choose a random upper body explosive movement. I want to use the same exact muscle group for a strength and an explosive movement paired together. If I'm training for function, if I'm training for injury resistance, if I'm training for stability in a joint, if I'm training for mobility in a joint, I will pair a barbell back squat with a stretch of some kind. Or sometimes I'll even get a little creative and I will pair that with a soft tissue exercise. So a barbell back squat followed by three-way hips, followed by a couch stretch, followed by maybe a pigeon pose. Maybe we'll do a little foam rolling for your quads immediately after doing a barbell back squat. That's gonna help open up the joints so that during your set, your barbell back squat gets more and more clean. Your knees, your hips, your ankles are all working much more smoothly as the sets progress. If we're training for fat loss or for conditioning, I will pair a lower body movement, which would be the barbell back squat in this case, with an upper body movement. Maybe it's like a seated V-bar pull down or a seated lat pull down or a single arm row. And the reason that I do that is because when we're doing a lower body movement paired with an upper body movement, and then you go back to your lower body and then back to your upper body and back to your lower body and back to your upper body, there's this shunting of blood. Your blood gets pushed to your lower body, it gets pulled to your upper body, pushing down, pulling up. When you're doing that over the course of 50, 55, 65 minutes, there's a massive metabolic conditioning factor there. This is the way that I sneak in conditioning. I'll crush your heart rate without spending a single time on any type of conditioning exercise. I'll use the weight training to hit that conditioning demand, that conditioning outcome. Okay, now finally, if we're trying to optimize for true strength, I will superset this just like you're seeing with Squatober, probably with rest. Sometimes I'll throw in like a very light stretch, but usually it's just rest, right? And we want to maximize the barbell back squat. So I'm not going to use any energy whatsoever on anything else other than the movement that we want to gain strength in. We talked about this yesterday in part 1, that I'm not seeing anything supersetted with the squat. It's just 2.5 minutes of rest, hit your next set of squat. This is how you gain strength. Okay, so that was just a 100-mile-an-hour brain dump on how to combine different types of exercises to optimize for specific outcomes. Your next question might be, how do you choose what outcomes you want? Sometimes the results that you want are very clear, but sometimes it's a little muddy. And sometimes you want a little bit of everything. So how do you handle that? That is where training phases come into play. I will only choose one of these results at a time. I'll choose one outcome that I'm trying to optimize for, and the entire phase will be designed in that same structure. After we finish that phase, we'll move on to a different outcome. The circuit sequencing that we were just talking about will change. Most of the time our phases are in 3 or 4, sometimes 5-week blocks, and then we're moving on to the next outcome. We're moving on to the next phase, we're moving on to the next desired result. And when I'm talking about athletes, over the course of an entire off season, we've kind of hit all of these different elements, and at the end of the off season, they're a completely different athlete or a completely different optimized athlete than they were at the beginning. I do handle the adult training slightly different than the athletic training, but these themes and these principles are 100% consistent. So, Programming 101, Part 2. If this is something that you guys enjoy, please let me know. I didn't want to get too detailed on this and too granular because there's a million different ways to program creatively, but back to our fundamental video that we posted last week, I wanted to start with the basics. If you understand the basics of human performance and you master those basics, over time, the creative way in which you sequence these different elements, that's how you're gonna get your own voice, whether you're a coach or whether you're an athlete. That's when you start to separate yourself. I'm gonna wrap that up here. Day 14 of Squatober in the books. Tomorrow, day 15 is halfway through the month. I'm feeling momentum right now. I'm pretty pumped up about how my squat is coming along. Hopefully you guys crush it today. See you in the next video.